All right. How is everyone doing? Do you all have supplies ready? Give me thumbs up if you're ready to move forward. Thumbs down. You need a little bit more time, Graham? You can unmute yourself and talk to me.
I don't have a hot glue gun.
Oh, you need hot glue still, huh?
I just don't have a hot glue gun.
Okay. I thought you did. So if you need to borrow one, we can get you one for next time. You can probably get through this activity maybe without a hot glue gun.
I'll get you a glue gun, Graham.
Yeah, maybe check the registration too and see what his parent said about that.
Okay.
Did we loan you one last time, Graham?
No.
Okay. Because I know you've done some of our virtual programs before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyone else have any issues with any of the materials or supplies? Nope. Okay.
Just pretty sure I got everything, but I'm not positive. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's okay. The first thing we're gonna do is you can start cutting out your pattern out of the paper. So go ahead and cut out the mask pattern. Yep. And here's a couple ideas for different ways you can decorate your mask. You can do all sorts of individual ideas for decorating. So just keep that in mind as you think about how you're going to design your mask or draw it. So just work on cutting out your mask pattern right now. Once you get your mask pattern cut out, then you can start to draw your mask pattern onto your felt. And yep. So here I've drawn out a pattern here, and I added a little bit of embellishment to the edge of my mask pattern just to make it custom. I changed the eyes. You can start to modify some stuff, or you can just do the regular mask pattern, whatever you feel comfortable with. Some students really like to get creative right away, and that's totally fine. And some feel more comfortable just following the directions and getting used to working with the project. Either way is correct. Once you get your mask patterns cut out and you trace them onto your fabric, then you can start cutting them out. I'm working on cutting out my mask pattern. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. If you have a question or a concern, you can unmute yourself and just go ahead and ask us.
I got a hot glue gun.
You do?
My mom had one.
Awesome, Graham. I'm so glad to hear that you had one after all.
Mm-hmm.
That's Great.
Should we just use Sharpie when we're trying to trace these things out, or like what would you use?
Yeah, I used a Sharpie on mine, and it's okay because if it shows on one side, you can always turn it over and it won't show once you start piling it up together. So yeah, I use a Sharpie, but you can also use a pen. You can also use chalk. I had decided to make circle eyes. And so I used 2 different sizes of bottle caps to make my eyes circle instead of oval. If you decide to do that, you've got to make sure that you use the pattern to line up where those eyes would be. And I used my pattern like this, and then I put my circles on there and moved them forward towards the middle so it would work better. Hopefully this will work. How's everyone doing out there? All right, I've got one cut out. Now I'm gonna start cutting out the other one in a different color. And I like to put my patterns on the edge, not in the middle, so that I'm not taking up all the space. I still leave some felt to use later for another project if I want. Always conserving that felt or that fabric. That way, in case you mess up, there's something extra to fix it with. All right.
Wait, so do I cut out the paper?
You cut out the paper first, and then you use the paper to draw the pattern onto your felt, and then you cut out the felt.
Okay.
How's everyone doing out there? You can give me a thumbs up. You can unmute yourself if you need more time. You can point your camera down to your project so we can watch you building. All right, glad to see some thumbs up there.
I just need a little bit more time.
All right, no problem. We are not going to move on till the next step until after everyone has cut out their felt. So we're just waiting for everyone to get their felt cut out. Any tips or tricks from any of our 4-H leaders on this?
When I cut out my eyes, I thought that was the most difficult thing. And so what I did was I folded my felt piece in half, and then I made a little notch in the felt, and then that notch was big enough to get in and cut out the whole eye.
Good tip. I'm going to try her trick. I'm going to fold the notch here in the eye, cut a little slit. Oh yeah, now I can get my scissor in there and work myself towards that line to cut out the eye. Awesome tip, Emily. Thank you. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When will we go back to where we are online?
What do you mean go back to where we are online?
Like when we're back to the library.
Oh, you want to see the library video
Huh?
where we're action big? Here, I can pin this video like this.
No,
I
mean,
think he's asking when we plan on being back in person.
yeah.
Oh, well, probably not for a while, Graham. I don't think we're going to be back in person until spring, maybe even summer. Unfortunately, I think that it's going to be a while. However, the last 2 weeks of this program, as long as campus is open, you do have the possibility of coming into the Co-Student Innovation Center Makerspace and working on the embroidery machine to make our very last project.
Okay.
Yep. So there is that possibility. And then those of you who are in Gillette, I'm wondering if the Gillette Makerspace has an embroidery machine. So I'll reach out to that director and see if there is one over there that we might be able to use for you all. All right, so once you get your 2 pieces cut out, then you can start thinking about how you're going to lay them out together. All right, we'll give everyone another 5 minutes or so to get their felt finished up. Well, we have like kind of like electronic speakers, but that would work. Let me show you. You're welcome. How many more minutes? 2 or 3?
3.
Okay, sounds good. 3, sounds good.
I did this wrong and I like cut it like wrong, like that.
Let me see, hold on. Oh, on the inside of the line? Wah, wah, wah. It's like a video game fail song. Wah, wah, wah. Try again. We've got time. Take your time. We have plenty of time to work on this project, so nobody should feel rushed.
I still need some more time.
Would 2 minutes be helpful, Graham?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I've got it cut.
Excellent. How about everyone else? Anyone else need more time for cutting?
I'm done.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Everyone else, thumbs up?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, great. Okay, so we are going to move on to the next section. All right, which is going to be all about electricity. So let me switch my camera view, and I'm just going to put this down here, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to get your coin cell battery holder. And you're going to get your strip of LEDs and your coin cell battery. And then I think that you have some alligator clips in your kits too. You guys get alligator clips in those kits?
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're going to need 2 alligator clips. Any color will work. It doesn't matter what color. So we're going to talk a little bit about electricity and about this thread. So first things I want you to notice on this coin cell battery holder are the little circles. See those little circles? These little circles are where we're going to sew the thread, and they have metal around them, and that metal helps conduct the electricity. And there's a plus here, and on this one there's a minus, and then there's a minus on that one and a plus on this one. Who knows what the plus and the minus stand for?
Positive and negative.
Yeah, positive and negative, exactly. So we're gonna use positive and negative because energy flows in one direction from the positive to the negative. And so on each of these LEDs, you'll notice there's also a little positive down here and a negative up here. You'll also notice on the back of these LEDs, there's a little label and it shows the color, white, I think that's pink, blue, yellow, green, red, and white. So you can check that out on your LEDs as well. And what we're gonna do is you're gonna choose 3 colors of LEDs to use today. And these things just break apart. So we can just break them apart and they will just snap right off. These little LEDs will snap off. You might need a parent to help you. Sometimes they can be a little bit difficult, but they should all break apart fairly easy. Then what we're going to do is we are going to insert the battery into the coin cell holder. And you'll notice on the top of the coin cell holder, see that plus sign right in the middle there? That means positive goes up. And then if you look at your battery, you'll notice there's a plus sign on this flat, shiny side. The other side is kind of rigid. This flat, shiny side has the positive, and it means that's the upside. So we're going to put the flat side in so that the positives are going to be meeting the positives. And you want to shove your battery in all the way so that it goes completely in and sticks out a little bit on this side too. You have a switch on this thing that can turn the power on and off. We're going to leave the power off right now until we get it hooked up. But we are going to test our LEDs. So I have an LED here, and I've hooked up my red to the positive side and my black to the negative side of the LED. And I'm just using these. See how if you squeeze them, they pinch and open like an alligator mouth? And then you can pinch that and put it right on there. and squeeze. And you want that to touch right where the metal is on there, okay? Then you're gonna connect the right wire, and my black is my negative, so I'm gonna connect my black to a negative side of my coin cell battery holder. And then I'm gonna connect my red to a positive. And then I can turn on the switch and see if my LED turns on. So I'll wait for you all to get to this part and see if your LEDs have turned on. And I think we have a slide. Do we have a slide showing the flow of electricity?
Yes, we do. Let me get back to that.
So we are using the last kind of thread called stainless steel conductive thread. And the electricity is using this stainless steel thread. Once we sew it, right now it's using the alligator clips, which are probably a stranded copper wire or a solid core copper wire to transmit the electricity. In this case, the electricity comes off the positive side and always runs from positive to the component, through the component, in through the positive, out through the negative, and back to the negative part of the battery. And that is a closed circuit. A circuit, for it to operate, has to be closed. All right, it looks like we've got some lights turning on there. We have some success. It looks like Katie's got it going on. Who else has it working here? Graham has his working, great. You can go ahead and turn on your camera and show us your project if you've got it glowing.
Mine isn't turning on.
Okay, so you need to check your connections, your battery direction. Ellie, great job. Who was that said they were having a problem with their battery or with theirs? Giovanna, you're having a little bit of issues?
Alexis.
Oh, it's Alexis. Awesome. All right. So Alexis, what's going on with yours?
Well, this seems to be on right. Battery's in the right place.
You have your battery with the smooth side facing up?
Oh, that's it.
Okay. How about Giovanna? Gio, how's yours coming along? Is yours working? It's glowing. Yay. Good job. Alexis, did that fix your problem? All right, Sierra and Clayton got it working. Good job. How about Lily?
Mine is not working.
Okay, Lily, let's try to fix yours. What's going on with it?
It's just not turning on. Oh, wait. I made a stupid mistake. I forgot to flip the switch on.
Yep. Does it work now? Awesome. Good job. All right. So we have everyone has their lights on. How about Cricket and Ginger?
We have one working, one not.
Okay, so let's check the battery direction, check the
Let's see.
switch, and let's make sure that the alligator clips are actually connecting to the metal. And that all the positive wires going to the positive and the negatives going to the negative.
Mine's working,
Okay.
not theirs. They're just bad luck.
I'll try again. Where is it? Not working. We will keep troubleshooting here. Maybe the battery's not correct, even though I swear it's correct.
Mine works. Got it. I
You
got
guys
pink.
were able to get it? All right, it sounds like everyone has been able to make their success. If not, please raise your hand in the chat if you're having issues. All right, so now that we've got this down, this is a basic circuit. And this circuit is running energy from the positive lead to the positive of the LED, and then the energy runs out the negative, back to the negative, and that makes a full closed circuit. As soon as I undo one of these, it's an open circuit. There's a break in the circuit, and that's why it's called open. And closed is actually what we want because the loop is completely closed and the energy can flow freely through it. So what we are going to do next is we are going to start to lay out our components onto our LED mask. And there's two ways you can do this. First off, you can see on my mask here, I actually have them under my felt and they're glowing through. But you can also do it if we can go back maybe to the example page and show there are some where the circuit is on the front out in the open. And so you can do it in either way. You can either have your circuits out on the front and sewn on the front of your mask, or you can have it be underneath and illuminating and glowing through. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to lay this out on your mask, and you're going to decide if you're going to use and put your LEDs on the front piece or the back piece. And for this project, I think I am going to put them on my back piece and have the LEDs shine through. However, then you have to think about where you're going to have your LEDs shine and what pattern you're going to do them in. Ideally, you want to have a pretty simple pattern, and there's a pattern on your printout. This is the simplest pattern to do, and you can certainly do this pattern. It shows the circuit pattern. The most important thing you want to make sure is that all your negatives are on one direction, either on the top or the bottom, and all the positives would be on the other. So before we start sewing and before we start gluing, because after we lay this out, we're going to lay out our circuit like this. So if I'm going to do mine on the under, I might say like this is going to be my pattern. And then I'm going to lay out a few LEDs in a row for myself. So I'll put one here. And then I could put one here. And then I can put one here. And maybe I'll do this on the front so there's a little bit more room to sew, because that's, my pattern is a little bit tight. Well, I don't have a lot of room there either. So you're gonna have to arrange them neatly wherever you want. Maybe you don't want a middle one. Maybe I'll just do 2 edges and eliminate the middle one since those are too close. And for this design, if I'm gonna do this design, then what I might do is I might have, I might just put them on the side, right, like that. And I think these are both yellow. Oh, white, white, okay, white. I'm gonna do 2 whites. I'm gonna move this and make it a little more even. And then the way I'm gonna sew this, and I'm gonna draw my stitches on the ground or on my felt, is I'm gonna stitch from this positive right here over to this positive. And we're gonna talk about stitching in a minute. Right now, I'm just drawing out where my stitches are gonna go and my components. And I'm actually gonna stitch down here on the bottom with my positive lead over to here. And then my negative lead is gonna stitch from here to there, and then around the top of my mask, like this, to the negative. Does that make sense? You can definitely follow the pattern that's on here for your stitches. And I draw out all of these little stitch marks before I start stitching, so I know where to stitch. But I'm also gonna hot glue these components down, and it's really important when we hot glue them down that we don't get any glue on the metal around the circle tab that we are going to sew on. This metal cannot be obscured by any hot glue on the underside or the top side, because we need our conductive thread to sew around this and hold that current. All right, I'm gonna go over and, well, let's check in first and see how you all are doing with your layout of your circuit. I'm only going to use 2 LEDs in this design. You can minimize, you can use more LEDs or less LEDs, whatever you decide.
I have a
I'm
question.
going to yeah.
So I'm a little bit confused about the this thing right here.
What's that?
The battery thing.
Yep.
Cause like when you stitch that, like, is it supposed to wrap around the side, or is there just one line and then another line?
Oh, for when you're stitching around your component, or what?
When you're stitching around your components.
Yeah, so we're gonna go over how to stitch our components in a minute. But yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew around each one of these little tabs 3 times before we stitch on our lines to the next component.
And then second question,
Yeah.
like how are we supposed to turn this on and off if there's another layer on top of it?
Yep, so we're not gonna completely cover it. Like even on mine, I have this here, but I can get into this. Like I could switch it, or I could just switch it over the fabric and just easily move the fabric a little bit and switch it on and off.
And then do we like glue these components down when it's time to?
Yep,
Yeah,
after you draw your circuit like I have drawn mine, and I've got it organized and laid out. This is called a design. And I'm thinking about aesthetics while I'm thinking about this design, right? I'm thinking about where I'm placing things and balanced or not balanced, things like that. So once you get this design and you have your stitches drawn out, then we can go over to the hot glue, which is my next step. And I'm going to hot glue these before I start sewing them.
Okay.
All right. Are
I
you?
was like a little bit confused because when I was drawing it out, I was like, how is this gonna work?
Yep, it's going to work because we're going to sew it with that metal thread. So instead of using the wires, we'll be using the conductive thread.
Okay.
All right. So does everyone have a pattern drawn out on their mask
I have a
and have their
question.
components laid out? Graham, did you want to say something?
So, which part of the mask are we putting it on? The big one or the small one?
I laid out my circuit on the big mask. The big mask is going to be the under layer and the smaller mask is going to lay on top.
Okay.
How's everyone doing out there? Do you need a little more time to draw your circuits? And you can use the image that's up on the slide right now if that really helps you. That's the most basic circuit. The most important thing to make sure of is that all your negatives are on the same side and all your positives are on the same side. When we sew this, we're going to use two different pieces of thread. We're going to use one piece of thread for the positive side and a whole different brand new piece of thread for the negatives.
What happens like if you were to do like one thread? Like
If we did one thread, then the energy would flow on the thread and not go through the components. And because the negative would then be touching the positive without going through the component, that would create a short circuit. And a short circuit will drain your battery. Any other questions? Does anyone need help with their circuit design on their mask?
which way should we have this the battery thing pointed at?
Well, you should have the battery thing oriented so that it's gonna line up with your LED polarization. So in the case of my project here, let's see if I can get it into view. I have my battery thing facing up, but I have my positives facing on the bottom of my mask. So that's a positive, positive, and positive. And then I have my negatives all facing on the top of my mask. So negative, negative, negative.
Just wondering because like when I was doing it, I realized that like they have one side's positive and one side's negative on the LEDs, and that I didn't know if we were supposed to like do like once like one part of it would be on the positive side and one part would be on the negative side.
Yeah, so it's just like in the image. See the image that's up on the video right now?
Yeah, I do.
And all the negatives are facing up and all the positives are facing down.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. So as long as you have all the negatives and positives in the same orientation, it won't matter how many LEDs you do. All right, I'm gonna move on to the hot glue stage. I'm gonna move my computer. You're gonna go on a trip through the makerspace over to the hot glue station. All right. So really, really important when you're working with hot glue in these components is that you don't want to get a lot of glue all over the component. If you get too much glue, especially around the holes on this component, then it will not conduct electricity because the glue will stop that electrical current. So I'm going to put just a small little tab, a little dollop of hot glue on there. And I'm not even gonna get a whole dot coming out of my glue gun, just a teeny little dot there, hardly anything. And then I'm gonna make sure that my LED is facing the right direction. And then I put it down. You really don't need a lot of glue here right now because we're only gluing it just to keep it in place while we start sewing our project. This is really going to be sewn on to your mask. So now I'm putting another little teeny dot of glue on this LED and gluing it down. And then a little bit more on, can do a bigger dollop on the back of your coin cell battery. Just make sure that all of your positives are facing the same direction and all your negatives for all of your components. And make sure that you've drawn out your stitches that you're going to sew. This will really help you keep on track and help you get to your sewing spot correctly. So now I have my components very lightly glued on to my mask. All right, let's go back to the desk.
This isn't really working for me for some reason.
What part is not working?
Like the hot glue gun.
Okay, so
It's like smaller than, like, less wide than the original one.
oh, so you have a wrong size stick for your gun?
And like I was told that if I pushed it in hard enough it would work. I'm doing that, but like it's not coming out like at all.
Okay, so Giovanna, I have some full size sticks here we can get you next time
Okay.
to work with your gun, since it looks like you don't have a mini gun but you have mini sticks.
Yeah.
Yep. So I have some full size sticks. I can drop those off with Mary Louise. Anyone else having any issues with their hot glue gun? Is everyone getting your component on? Make sure you get your components glued down correctly. I can't stress this enough. If you happen to glue them incorrectly and sew them incorrectly, your circuit will not work. So if you need me to double check it, please do.
might be able to get into there, but it's Tyler has it. You don't have a USB charger with you for your little iPad, do you? Oh, is that mine for my laptop? Yeah, I know. It's 4H. Second morning, I'm like, wow, Jamie, you was over here for me.
Well, I've been sitting over there in that spot when nobody's here so that I can watch the front desk as people come in. All right, so I have to help a patron for a second, but Emily, Zane, and David, if you could check all their circuits before we move on to the sewing, that would be great.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, does anybody have them all glued onto the mask? I see a thumbs up. Let's see it. Awesome. So which side's the positive side?
I mean bottom.
Awesome. Okay, that looks good. And then you have all the negatives on the top side? Thumbs up. Good job. Okay, who else has the mask done? Let's see. You guys can speak up too.
Clayton has his done.
Clayton, okay.
Are you still in your pajamas?
What? Hmm?
Okay, who still needs time with gluing these onto the mask?
All right, how are we doing out there?
I know, I was like on a
Thumbs up, Graham. Good to hear. Good to see.
Good.
Thumbs up, Katie. Nice. All right. Cricket and Ginger got thumbs up. Lily's got thumbs up. Ellie's got thumbs up. Nice. How about Gio? How you doing?
Hot glue gun emergency, remember?
Oh yeah. Are you weren't able to make any of it work? Little bit. Looks like you got them glued on. Okay. Are we ready to move on to sewing? Okay. So for this next part, you are going to need some of your conductive thread and one of your needles from your sewing kit. So we're going to talk about this conductive thread a little bit. We mentioned that it was stranded steel, and you can kind of see the wires. They kind of fray at the end there. You can see how mine is frayed. So you might have to lick the thread to keep it together at the ends. The other thing is this stuff likes to twist and make little knots. So I like to work with smaller pieces versus bigger pieces. I'm going to work on a piece that's about 2 to 2.5 feet long is what I'm cutting for myself. Let me find where my scissors go. There they are. Cut a piece of string. So it is a little bit hard to get your thread through the eye of the needle. But I think you all can do it. If you need to lick your thread, you can. If you need to use a bigger needle, it has a bigger eye hole, you can do that too. There's a couple different sizes in your kits. And I pull through the thread just a little bit, not all the way, just a little bit, and I leave a little tail here. So, and then I hold my needle right where that loop is so that it doesn't fall out of there. So I hold the tip of the needle right where the eye is over my thread. All right, I'm gonna bring this down. Actually, let me adjust the new camera we got and see if we can get that in a better position for us to use. Let me see if we can get that in a better view. See if I can get zoomed up a little bit more for you. All there. Let's see here. Oh, I'll get back in.
Why are there so many needles?
There's just a few different types in there, just in case, you know, you have problems getting the thread through a smaller needle, something like that. Let's see if we can get this camera to zoom up close on this table here. Okie dokie. So we are going to start to sew.
I actually was able to get my hot glue gun working.
Awesome.
So I have it all taped up, but I'm a little bit confused about the how you're supposed to get it through the little like on and off switch thing, battery thing.
Yep, let me show you how to sew that, okay? I'm about to demonstrate that right now.
All right.
All right, and you can see the picture that's up right now on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example of what we're gonna do, and we're gonna leave part of, there's two ways you can do about it. You could either make a knot at the end of your string and pull it through and have a knot, and then go around 3 times. Or you can do the under the tail and through the hole knot, which is what I like to do, which makes it pretty easy to remember. And I'm going to demonstrate that right now. So I have my needle and thread right here. And I'm going to start on my negative, and I'm going to put my needle just barely in next to the hole, but then I'm going to come up through the hole right here. And this way I have just a little bit of thread, a tail at the end. Let's see here. Let me get this in the view here. I don't know that that's any better. Let me switch back to my computer view. I think it's better than this other camera. Let's see if, is this better view? Maybe. So I'm gonna go under my tail that I have sticking out, and then through this hole, this loop that I now created of string. And this is gonna create a little knot right here on top of my stitch, right next to my hole. So I just basically tied my felt to this hole on this first component. I'm gonna go under my tail that's sticking out of this string again, and through the hole that I just made of the string. And I don't want it to get tangled, so I'm trying to be very careful. Oops. And it fell out of my needle.
I'm not understanding.
Maybe let's put back up the image of the starter knot. The idea is that we're going to get a starter knot started, okay? And so we're trying to go up through the knot, through the fabric, and through that hole on the component to get the knot started. Has everyone got at least a knot and got their component knotted to their felt?
No, not quite yet.
Okay, get your felt knotted to your felt. The other way you can do it is you can make a knot at the end of your string. And when you pull it through the hole, the knot at the end of the string will end up at the back of your fabric. And then you can go around again.
Just go back to the one where I was doing the knot thing.
Yep, so you go, when you're pulling it through, you go up through the hole with your string, and you leave a little bit of a tail. You don't want to pull your string all the way out. You leave a little tail, and you can go under that tail. And then when you go under that tail, see how it creates this hole right here of string? Then I can go through that string, that hole in the string. And that's called under the tail and through the hole. Has everyone gotten at least a knot?
Is that kind of like, sorry, I don't know if you can see, but
Yep, you still have string there. Oh, did you start sewing to the other one?
so like what I did was I went through the component and then I just went back through the fabric.
Yep. And you want to go around 3 times. We need to have 3 stitches.
Okay.
I don't know if we had a picture of the 3 stitches there, Emily, or not, but once you get your first knot, then you go down through the hole next to the fabric and then up through the hole, or whatever way you want. You can go down through the hole and up next to the fabric, next to the hole. And you want to go down around 3 times and make it really tight and very clean stitches. And I usually cut my tail after I get my first couple stitches done because I don't want that tail going around and short-circuiting my circuit into something else.
I have a question.
Absolutely, Graham.
So does the knot that like you start out on, does that count as like the first go through thing?
No, not usually. Usually I don't count the knot.
Oh, okay.
So now I've got my 3 stitches on my component. And now I'm going to come up here next to my component. I'll put this back down here. And I'm going to start stitching to my first LED because I went around 3 times right here and I've got it tight and it's very clean on the back side. It looks very clean. There's no messes, no rats nesting of my thread. And now I'm going to make little small stitches and going down on my lines very neatly, pulling my fabric all the way through, or my thread all the way through, and then coming right back up, moving forward closer to my next component. Really making sure the back side of my stitches are clean. We don't want those getting tangled. If those get tangled, it is really hard to get your component, your project going. Oh, with the circuit, everything is about having the metal touch each other and have that connectivity. So I got to my component. Now I'm going to go around my component 3 times around this LED hole. And I'm going to make sure each time I go around, each stitch around is a full stitch all the way from top to bottom and back to bottom to top. And make sure it's tight against my component and holding my component in place and making sure that the connection is going to happen with the metal on my component. Because this is a circuit, and so electricity is going to be running through this thread. How is everyone doing out there? Any questions? All right, we're going to continue sewing on to the next component, and I'm going to stitch all the way around over to here and over to here. Oops. Didn't want to do that. Does anyone need help?
If you're like running out of string, like you've got like plenty, but you're like close to running out, would it be okay to cut the string and then make another one, or like?
Yeah, so you can as long as you end at a component. So you have to finish that off and make a knot so that the string won't come undone. And the way you would do that is you could go under the stitches at the component, which would be kind of your under, and then go through the hole that is made, and that would make a knot right there.
Okay.
Then you can start with your new string at that component and move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. So
Just
you always,
close to running out of string, and I was like, huh, what am I supposed to do?
yep, just keep going until you do run out, and then we'll figure it out from there. But yeah, whenever you always start and stop your thread at a component. Any other questions? All right, so I'm still sewing. I'm almost to my other component over here. And then I'm gonna go around it 3 times, and then I'm gonna knot it off and end that line. I'm going down through the hole, up next to the hole, down through the hole. All right, so I'm going to show you a really neat trick for ending your stitches at a component. I'm going to get this video really close here so you can see, try to get this component in here. Let's see here, where am I at? I'm over here. Okay. So this component is the one I'm going to end. And I've already gone around 3 times and made my 3 stitches. But now I'm gonna go under one of those stitches that I just made. And it's kind of like going under the tail. And when I go under that stitch, and it's a little tight, pull my needle through. Now I have a little hole here from the thread that I just pushed through. It's attached to my needle, and I'm going to stick my needle back through here, that hole, and this is going to become a little knot right there next to my component. See how that worked? Let's try it again. I'll try to show you again. Let's see here. So I'm going to stick my needle right under the edge of those stitches here. Now I have a whole kind of a loop, and I'm going to go through that loop with my needle, and that's going to create a little knot, and I'm going to pull that down. Then I can cut this thread now that I've got it knotted, and I'll cut this. So now I've got my first stitch from my battery coin cell holder, and it goes to my first LED, and then I sewed all the way over to my second LED. Now I'm going to get a whole new piece of thread, brand new piece, and I'm going to stitch the positive line now. I just did my negative. Any questions? Make sure you're asking questions if you're getting confused. Make sure you're making really tight, nice stitches.
Can you show me? Well, I didn't really see how you like end the stitch.
Yeah, I can show you how I end the stitch again. It's the same way I begin the stitch. It's the same trick. It's that under the tail through the loop trick. So for right here, I went right under, let me get my camera view up here. So that stitch right there, I went under the stitch with my needle sideways. And then I went through the loop that it made. Let me show you on this again. I'm gonna start on this end with just the LED and sew back to here. Yeah.
Do you know what the first days where they were for the test? I don't think they're updated to there.
Well, they should be.
Are they?
We have the new, yeah, the new image for that should be on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The fire hydrant was not.
It should be too.
It was that's supposed to be 13 to 11, but as of 14 and not 12.
Then he has the wrong quiz up. Yeah.
Should I just do where the first aid kids are best?
Well,
It could be an old map of the correct answers.
okay, we'll see if we can get this started to show you this component. So I'm gonna do this concept here. I got a little knot or something. There we go. Okay, so we've got a little tail here. I've got my thread. I'm gonna put my finger on the tail when I'm starting. When I've already finished, when I'm finishing, I don't have to put a finger on a tail, because really that's just the stitch over here, and I can just go under the stitches at the component. Since I'm starting though, I'm gonna go through the tail, under the tail.
What I did, I don't know if this is gonna work, because I had 3 kind of in a row basically. So what I did was, like just did that. I didn't like tie it off. Would that work?
You did the under the tail and through the hoop? Or what?
I didn't. I just went through one component and did it 3 times and then just moved on.
Yeah, if you're gonna move on and you're in the middle of moving on, yeah, you don't stop and cut it. But if you're at the end, then you can go under your stitch and through the hole.
Yeah, I basically did that, only I did it on the back side. I when all of those stitches, I went underneath the back ones,
Yeah.
it, and then cut it and then tied a small knot.
Okay.
That work?
That will work if it'll hold it in place. As long as it'll hold it in place, I mean, that's another way to do it, for sure. The way I'm showing you is not the only way to do it. There's a lot of different sewing knots. And so you're welcome to use any other sewing techniques that you remember or know or innovate. That's certainly fine. The most important thing is that the component is very tightly connected with the string. So you really want that there to be a good connection between this string, because this string is the metal that's going to conduct the electricity for the lights to light up.
So do you start on your positives now that you've got it all tied off?
Yep, if you've got your negative side done and complete, then I would get a brand new string and start on the next, either your positives or your negatives, whatever you have left. Yep. Just make sure it's a brand new string, because they have to be completely separate lines of electricity. And just very nice, even stitches, as even as you can do. How is everyone doing out there?
Not good.
Not good. Who said that?
Me.
Who is me? Who was that? Is that
Me.
Graham?
It was Cricket.
No, it was me.
Cricket. Cricket. Okay, let's see. Where are you at? Let me find you in my video so I can help you. All right. So what do you need help with, Cricket?
I somehow have a knot
Okay.
in the back.
In the back. Let's see it. Put it up to your camera. Oh, look, we got one working. Woo!
Whoa, down here.
Oh.
Yeah, Alexis, good work. Oh, what happened?
All right, Cricket, show us your knot.
Looks great.
Oh yeah, so a little bit of a knot. So you might need to see if you can get some help to clean that up. Worst case scenario, you might have to cut part of your thread and see if you have enough, or you might have to cut it and start over. Just on the side that has the knot.
Just leave the video. Let me see.
See first if you can untangle it.
We are.
And if you can't fully untangle it, then see if you cut a piece towards the, a long way, if you can still have enough to finish your sewing. And if that doesn't happen, then try to cut enough that you could at least finish it at the closest component. And if that doesn't work, then you can undo the whole thing and start that whole side over.
Thanks and okay.
Keep working on it, you'll get it.
Maybe.
Part of making is that it's not easy. It's actually a little bit hard to do some of this stuff, but we're going to get better at it as we continue working on this every week. This is just the first project, and even though we've got one student already done, they can continue working on decorating. And if you need more time next week, we can give you a little bit of time. Well, we still have about a half hour left. We have a little bit of zippers. Yeah, we have some zipper. So Cricket, on the image that's up right now, Emily has that final knot being shown where you put that needle under the last 3 stitches at your LED component and then you pull it tight. See that?
Sorta.
Can you make it bigger on your screen so you can understand that image a little better?
Yes.
And it's really good just to take slow, big, long stitches. I always spread my arms out all the way when I'm stitching like this, just to make sure I'm not getting any knots on the back, and I'm flipping over my project to double check there's no knots often, and I keep checking on it.
Awesome job, Giovanna. That looks way good.
All right, I'm gonna do my final knot here. I'm gonna stick this needle under these threads right by my component. And then I'm gonna stick that needle through this hoop, if I can get it untangled, that was made from that. Bring down my little knot. There we go. After you get your circuit made, then you can put back in your battery. And hopefully you all don't have your battery in right now. If you do, you probably want to take it out, or at least make sure it's turned off, because sewing with your battery in could be bad. I'm going to turn this off, and we're going to put in my battery and then turn it on, and my LEDs work. So now is the fun part where you can start to design and create a little bit of design with this. So now I'm going to go over to the hot glue and start making some hot glue designs. Does anyone need help? How are you doing, Cricket and Ginger? You guys are doing better? Good to hear. All right, so now I'm over here at the hot glue station. And I'm gonna hot glue on my over color. And I'm just making some little dollops of hot glue to glue this other piece over onto this other one. Then I'm gonna cut out some different shapes. And my goal or theme with this mask was, I decided, since the colors I had to work with, I was going to make it look like an owl mask. So I'm going to cut out some feathers. I'm going to draw a couple little feathers here to cut out and maybe flap over this way. I'm going to put some bigger brown feathers right here on the side. I'm just going to put a dollop of and then you can start to really decorate and just choose some colors and some extra pieces to give it some flair. I also had some little sequins. So I'm going to pick out some yellow, and I have silver sequins, and I'm going to make a yellow and silver pattern of sequins for this owl. And you can really start to play with some of the aesthetics of the design once you get to that part. Anyone need any help? Go ahead and speak up. Unmute yourself. Or if you get to the point where you're about to share, we'll do a big share and tell at the end. So hopefully people are still hanging out on and not disconnecting yet. All right.
Beautiful job, Ellie. That looks amazing.
Can we spotlight hers so the rest of the group can see? See. Are you a host, Emily?
Yes, I am. I just have no idea how to use Zoom.
Up in their top corner in that 3 dots, you can spotlight and pin the video.
I got it.
Awesome.
Awesome job. Has anybody else gotten done yet?
You should be able to unpin my video so that it'll show up.
I don't believe yours is pinned.
Oh, there, I unpinned it.
Jane, do you think you'll make a beak to go on the owl?
You know, I didn't think about that, but I guess I could, huh?
Yeah, that's what I did on my flamingo, is it has a beak.
Oh, I want to see that.
Let me flip on the light.
Oh my goodness, yeah. How did you make that beak? Is that out of felt?
Yes,
Dude, that's
it is.
awesome.
That's great.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, she's got a little beak. Was it like a triangle piece that you made?
Yeah.
or-
Yep.
Okay.
And then I just glued them down the middle.
Awesome. I will try to do that.
That's pretty awesome, Emily.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I see. Oh yeah. I think that's gonna work. I'm gonna
Oh
try
yeah,
it.
that's gonna look awesome.
And this is what Makerspace is all about, is sharing your ideas with each other and coming up with new ideas, suggesting ideas for each other to improve upon your designs. Innovation comes when we are all sharing and helping each other, working together. Yeah, I think that's cool. Thanks for that suggestion.
Welcome. That looks amazing. Owl's coming alive.
Owl is coming alive. How is everyone else doing out there? Does anyone need help?
Great.
Excellent. How much more time do people need to finish their projects?
I think I'll just need like a couple of more minutes.
Like 5?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
awesome.
need a lot. I'm having troubles with my string.
Okay, well, we can talk about string in a minute too.
All
I
right.
haven't even gotten to string on mine. I'm still decorating.
Oh, all right.
I think this beak is gonna need some sequins.
Can make them look like bird nostrils with sequins, little sparkly ones.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'll give it some silver bird nostrils and uh-oh, too much glue.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does this look like it'll work?
Let's see. It looks like it. Have you tried to turn it on?
No, not yet.
Okay. Have you finished sewing all the components?
Oh, 2 of them work.
Okay, well, I would kind of wiggle it around and see if you can get the other component to make connection. It might just not be connecting, might be not sewn tight enough, or sometimes that happens.
Sometimes if you press on the wire on the component, it'll start lighting up.
Oh, now the other one went out.
Beautiful, Alexis.
Let's see, pin it up. All right.
How do you pin it up?
I can pin it up if you just want to show us. That looks so cool.
We're missing it. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Let's see here. Let's pin it. Pin video. There we go. Nice. That's awesome. Look at all those designs. That looks great. All right, so let's talk about the elastic. So one thing you're going to want to do is find your elastic. And what I like to do is kind of put the elastic around my head and pull it to about my temples. You don't want it too tight. Pull it around the back of your head to your temples, because the elastic, when you put on the mask, is going to go around the back to your temples. And then that's where you're going to want to cut it on one side. So on one side, I'm just holding the very end. And on the other side is going to mark where I'm going to cut it. And I'm not going to my middle of my forehead. I'm just going to the sides of my head. Do you see that to the side? Yeah. And then I'm going to cut it so that it's just the length going to the sides of my temple. Then I'm going to attach this now to my mask. And I am going to find a little place to glue it between the two mask pieces. And I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue in there to sandwich it. All right. And we're just going to sandwich it right in there with that hot glue. I'll let that hold for a minute. Let it cool down. And I'm going to go to the other side and peel back a little area at the top of my mask, about even with the other one. And I'm going to glue in a little dollop here that is going to sandwich in that piece. And you really want to make sure that your piece is not twisted. Your back is not twisted, it's laying flat before you get it glued in there, or else it might be uncomfortable when you're wearing it. Okay, let that glue cool down, and then I can try on my mask.
Has anybody else gotten done yet? Let's see, Alexis has it on. How's it fit?
Oh, that looks great. I'm going to put mine on and see too.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Do I look like an owl?
Yes.
My lights don't work.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. And so you have to check your circuit. First, you need to make sure that you have your battery inserted correctly with the positive to the positive.
It is.
Okay, then you need to make
Yeah.
sure that your switch is switched on.
It is.
Well, it was.
It was.
Right?
Okay. Then you can wiggle your project and see if it flashes at all. If it does, that means that there's loose connections. If it doesn't flash at all or flicker.
Nope, it's not flickering.
Okay, did you use two separate pieces of string to sew one for the positive and one for the negative?
Yep.
Okay, so then I would check each component and make sure it's sewn tightly. Make sure there's no loose strings that are connecting to the other other lead.
Okay, we did that.
So
It's
no.
still not working.
Okay.
Well, we'll keep troubleshooting here.
You gotta troubleshoot the circuit, and so sometimes there's a loose string that'll connect and hit the other lead. That could cause it to not work. Sometimes you might have an LED flipped to show all the pluses on the same side and all the minuses for all the components.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
How about yours, Cricket? Have you finished?
No, I just don't know how to finish it.
Well, poo. Okay, we'll have to. We're running way low on time. We'll have to troubleshoot this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, if you all need some extra help, we can work through this circuit together either now or after hours on another time. Are you all in Laramie?
No, we're in Gillette.
You're
so
in
we're not
Okay.
not close by.
Okay, not a problem. We can still help you guys get it working. Really, it's all about making sure that they've sewn those components as tightly as possible to make sure that metal thread is touching. If they have loose stitches, kind of make it not work a lot.
And if you may have accidentally added a little bit too much hot glue, that may interfere with it as
Yeah,
well.
I was double checking that, and it doesn't look like, it was just barely a little itsy bitsy dot of glue.
Yep.
And you
So
should be
that's-
okay.
That's probably not it then.
Yeah.
I would say that it's probably just loose stitching.
Okay.
If there's
have
any
to
sort of rat
back?
nesting on the back or anything, that could also be a problem.
Okay. Thank you. We'll have to keep working on it. Okay, Cricket.
Yep, and if we need to make an appointment to work with you to get it fixed on our own, we can do that, okay?
Okay.
Are we gonna have to drive all the way to Laramie?
No, we can meet virtually and have a little private session to make sure it works.
Okay.
But I think we still have a couple minutes, so how about anyone else? Does everyone else have theirs going? Graham, how's yours? Sierra, Clayton, Lily, Gio.
So something that happened with me was that my glue wasn't coming out at the beginning, so I was using like a pen to push it out, and then the pen got stuck in the glue gun.
Oh boy.
So I had to like pull it out. So I'm kind of just still designing it actually, but like it's.
Oh, that's coming along nicely. Did you sew your circuit? Is your circuit on the underpiece?
Yeah, it's on the underpiece.
Great. Awesome. And your circuit is working?
Yep.
Great. Good job. All right. How about Sierra and Clayton? Awesome, Gio.
Well, like, is it supposed to go through the fabric?
Yeah, it'll glow through the fabric a little bit.
Okay, I can see
You
that
could
now.
also cut out a little hole there too if you want it to shine through.
That's
How about Lily, Sierra,
like
Clayton?
my grandma went to this like festival where she got all sorts of like feathers and stuff. So I just got like this like old thing.
That's great. Awesome. It looks like Cricket and Ginger got the mask to work.
This is just mine.
Just one.
Just
Yeah.
mine.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll have to troubleshoot more. Thank
Yep.
you.
How about Alexis, Ellie, Lily, Sierra, or Clayton, or Kate? Are any of you done?
I am almost done. I am continuing to decorate.
Awesome. We need to have our show and tell soon because we are finishing up.
Do you like glue this on somehow?
All right. So we are going to wrap up this session. If you have your mask done, put it up in the window so we can see it, or put it on.
Yeah.
Hold it up to your face. If you
Do I glue
need-
it like this when I'm decorating it?
Who's asking about gluing?
Me. Cricket.
Cricket.
Do you glue it on while decorating?
Yeah, you can glue that other piece onto the other one and then decorate it using the hot glue.
Where do you hot glue it on?
Well, don't hot glue over the LEDs or your coin cell battery holder. You can hot glue over the stitches as long as there's not a component there.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yes.
All right. Well, we had fun. We hope you all had fun. If you need more
Bye.
help with your masks, you can reach out to us and we will help you, okay?
Okay.
Thank you all. We'll
Yeah.
see you next week on Thursday.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.